Hey podcasters, Ryan Otto here. Before today's episode, I just want to let you all know that I've gone all in short letting on booking.com. Back in 2005, the returns were good, but nothing like what we're achieving 14 years later. Because right now, every £1,000 of market rent I used to receive from a tenant is now returning £3,000 per month on the exact same rental property, which is a rental increase of 199%. My friends, if you leave a podcast review and tag me with it on any social platform, I'll send you a free copy of my rent arbitrage model, which is the unlock for you to do the same. And right now, guys, it's completely free. Hi everyone, Ryan Otto here. Welcome to Ask Ryan Otto. This is your opportunity to ask me anything and I will keep answering your questions. And this, my friend, is episode 5. Already at episode 5. So, remember, you guys keep asking me questions, ask me anything, and I will keep answering them for you guys. Now, the question we have for this episode is 2019 the right time for short letting right now? Is 2019 the right time for short letting? If you're an entrepreneur, this has a few different answers. If you're an entrepreneur, let me answer that part first because I haven't got any background on this question, the person who asked this, so I'm not sure if it's in the context of a entrepreneur that's looking to rent a property from a landlord and then put it on booking.com. I'm not sure if this is for a landlord that already has the property and is considering short letting. So I'm a bit torn between those two. But let me start with, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to answer it from both perspectives, okay? So, in case you're a landlord or in case you're an entrepreneur, both perspectives. Now, is 2019 the right time for short letting? Now, this is from the entrepreneur perspective, okay? So if you're an entrepreneur, you're looking to get into short letting and you're asking me, is this the right time? I would say absolutely yes. Now, what I mean by that, why this is the right time, is right now you've got landlords which are looking for longer term solutions, and they're even looking for shorter term solutions to find tenants to rent their property. Now more than ever, they are looking, or they're more motivated to find a tenant. So some landlords, you'll find, are happy to do deals and even reduce the price of their property. Okay? Now this has come down to a few different factors, because if you can imagine right now, we're facing, or we're in the, we're coming up to the letting fees ban. So that's just one reason, the letting agents fees ban. In case you guys don't already know that's watching this, this is for the entrepreneurs that maybe aren't already landlords. In the summer, this year, 2019, letting agents are no longer allowed to charge tenants those huge, horrendous application fees, credit checking fees, referencing fees that, as landlords, we know cost, £10, £15 to do when you outsource them to a professional company that does all of that. But letting agents will charge £100, £200, sometimes it's even as much as £400 for a couple of tenants just to do that thing which costs £10, £15 per person. So what the government have done is obviously made it, or banned it. It's completely banned. It's against the law now, so it's completely banned. So what that means for entrepreneurs watching right now, it means that landlords used to go to letting, or the letting agent the landlord used to go to, that letting agent now has lost a massive percentage of its income. They're actually saying that most letting agents were fully reliant, or something like a massive percentage of their profit relied on the money, or some of them, all of their profit relied on the extra money they got from those fees they charged tenants. If you imagine that's now been taken away, that's been pulled away, that agent has to make up that loss somewhere else. Now, if they can't charge the tenants those fees, it's likely the fees to landlords will go up. If the fees to landlords go up, it means landlords' profit, if that goes up, the fees the agent charges to landlords, it now means that the landlord's profit comes down. So the landlord loses out. So that means that landlords' margins, they're being squeezed right now in 2019, okay? Right now in 2019. So that's one reason why landlords would love to work with you, because they would love to do business with you, okay? Because it would enable them to not lose that money, okay? Now, another reason right now why it's a good time to do this, short letting in 2019, right now, is because the anti-landlord tax. Now, if you're not a landlord, this is for the entrepreneurs, and you haven't heard of the anti-landlord tax, just to give you a very brief overview, landlords in the UK used to be able to claim 100% of their mortgage interest costs back, or claim it off of their tax bill, 100% of their mortgage. So let's say the mortgage was interest only and it was £1,000 a month, okay? The landlord would be able to claim that £1,000, the allowance for the £1,000 every single month. Up until 2017, that changed. And what they've done is they've gradually, over the last few years, 2017 to 2020, those 3 years, they've tapered how much their landlord can claim. So it used to be 100%, then it went to a bit less that year, then the next year a little bit less. And as we approach April in 2020, so just around the corner, guys, we're now in the run-up to that. That's when the landlords can't even claim a single percent. They can't claim anything. So it's gone from 100% you can claim to 0 in April 2020. So what that means is landlords are not only being squeezed over here by letting agents needing to replace that massive income, passing it on to landlords. Over here, the government, the tax office, HMRC, are also battering the landlords. So the landlords are getting it from the agents, and the landlords are getting it from the taxman, okay? You can sort of hide from the agent or get away from the agent. You can't get away from the taxman, okay? So that means that landlords are in a position where they're being squeezed over here and they're being squeezed over here. So their profit margins have gone down and down and down and down and down. They used to be huge, and now they're like that big, okay? That big. So, to give you an idea, the average landlord now, or from 2020, would have to pay... Okay, let's go backwards before we go forwards. The average landlord earns around about £200 a month. That's on top of all of the expenses, the maintenance, the management, any fees, renewals, cosmetics, decorating every 3 years or so, new carpets, new bathroom, maintenance, the cycle goes around and around and around. So landlords are used to earning around about £100 to £200 a month after all of those things are paid. That's a good deal for landlords, some landlords, okay? Now, as the letting fees ban comes into place, the agent's going to squeeze their fees up a bit. 2020 arises, which is just around the corner. The government are squeezing landlords' profits as well. So they only had a tiny margin anyway, around 100 to 200. Some landlords who have higher interest rates on their mortgages have zero profit every month. So they're happy to break even. I mean, the old model years ago, when I first became a landlord, which would have been around the millennium, the year 2000. Now, back then, or the model up until we're using this new model, the model was If you can buy a property, so you buy the property, you put the mortgage deposit down, you put all the money in, etc. You pay all the legal fees, pay the solicitor's fees, everything else. Maybe do a little bit work to the property, cosmetic stuff, kitchen, bathroom, and then you rent it to a conventional tenant. This is the old archaic model I'm talking about here. You were, doing well if you was making £100 to £200 a month. Even if you was breaking even. I bought properties years ago, and I know hundreds of other landlords and investors that did. They bought properties many years ago where they was happy to subsidise the property. They were happy to put in £100 a month, because the view back then, that old archaic model, was buy the property today, a whole property cycle, the property would be worth double in value, 10, 15 years time. They sell the property or remortgage the property, they pull their money out, and then they pay the mortgage off, pull the money out, and then they've got a lump sum of money of whatever they bought the property for. It's now, for example, that example, worth 100% more. So they bought it for 200,000, they go long, they rent it, they subsidise it, they put in £100 a month after everything has been deducted, expenses, agents' fees, management fees, letting fees, voids, damage, repairs, maintenance, insurance premiums, everything else. And at the end of the term, they've now got that extra couple of £100,000 because they've sold the property. That model used to work. I even bought properties in that way as well. Now, if you think about it right now, that model no longer works. If the landlord has been using that model and they're making zero each month right now in 2019, or they're even making a couple of £100 a month. As we get to 2020, that anti-landlord tax, which they have to pay, that landlord now that would be making a couple of £100 can go all the way down to losing at least £1,800 a month in what they now have to pay in tax. Because what it means, or what I mean by that, is the rent now is treated, because they can't claim the interest back, it's now treated, that amount of money, that rent that they get there is now treated as income. So now that's treated as income, they obviously pay tax on that. If they were more or less only breaking even or had a couple of £100 left at the end of the month, okay, if they were doing well, let's assume that most are around 100, okay, or some are zero, some are below, like we just discussed, but let's say they're around 100 to 200. Now they're paying tax because it's treated as income. So what that does, it pushes the landlord into the higher tax bracket. So where they were, they've now moved into the higher tax bracket, and they're saying that there's around 600,000 landlords out of the 2.5 million landlords in the UK, which will be forced into a higher tax bracket. So, let me just recap. They're being squeezed by the letting agents, landlords, that you're looking to do deals with, okay? Hopefully this answers your question. Is 2019 a good time to do these deals, right? To get into this. They're being squeezed by the letting agents. Agents' fees are going up. They've been hammered or battered by one of the most hostile tax regimes in the Western world from HMRC, okay? So that's squeezed all the profits out of the deal. And now they have to pay tax more tax, because the income, the rent, is now treated as income, and it's pushed them into a higher tax bracket. So they are being hammered, the landlords. So what used to earn them a couple of £100 a month will now cost them a couple of £1,000 a month as a ballpark figure. They will now have to find a couple of £1,000 a month couple of £1,000 a month, couple of £1,000 a year, every single year. So now that means landlords are looking to find longer term tenants, right? Landlords are looking to find corporate tenants, which is contractors, which is people that are looking for short letting, or the companies that go in front of those people, like yourself. If you're an entrepreneur on here and you want to become that agency or become that company that can provide that solution, okay? So effectively, you would rent it long term and then you would manage it as a short let, okay? So you would just change the tenants over, but you would still pay the landlord a set amount of money every single month, whether it was empty or whether it was 100% occupancy, whether it was at 50% occupancy. So you would still pay the landlord the market rent, or even a little bit more. So they have that complete security. You will make money because you now know how lucrative the short letting market is, or being on booking.com from some of the case studies. And obviously you're listening to this podcast or you're watching on YouTube, so you're fully aware of the profits that are available to you. Up to 201% we're getting on some of our deals. That's above the AST market rent we're paying to the landlord. So taking all of that into consideration, right now, my friend, it's one of the greatest transfers of wealth that I have personally seen as a landlord, from rents and the returns from rents, since I became a landlord around 19 years ago in the year 2000, okay? So since then, this is the greatest transfer of wealth that I've seen. And if you can imagine, you can go out and rent a property from a landlord that's facing with all of the challenges and uncertainty of the Brexit and the risks and the tax implications and the new tax bracket and the anti-landlord tax and then the agents being squeezed, on top of their conventional worries and stresses, which are voids, evictions and eviction costs, problem tenants, nightmare tenants, serial rent dodgers, late rental payments. All of those things are now piled on the shoulder of the landlords, on top of what they already had, plus the new ones with the tax and the agents' fees going up and everything else, okay? So right now, my friend, is the best time for you to get into short letting. It's the best time for you to go and find as many of these perfect property deals as you can. Now, I'm telling you all, guys, I'm sharing this with you guys because I care, and the market is big enough for all of us to make money. All of us to make money, okay? Now, there's 2.5 million landlords in the UK that are looking for this solution. This solution that you can now offer by you becoming the tenant and you running that property as a short let, paying the landlord the full market rent or even a bit more than the full market rent. So it removes all of the friction and they will be happy to do more business with you. I hope you get some value from this Ask Ryan Otto episode today, episode 5. If you're watching on YouTube, I would love to hear your thoughts. So let me know what you think. You can hit me up on social. You can leave a comment below in the comments below this video, or find me anywhere on social and let me know. And you guys on the podcast, the Perfect Property Deal podcast, it would really mean a lot to me for me to know exactly what you think about this episode. So you can leave a comment on the platform you're listening to this podcast on, or you can come across to YouTube, or just hit me up on social. I would really appreciate that. So I hope you enjoyed this session. Episode 5 already. I'm so excited. You're going to be seeing a lot more of me doing this, guys. So you just keep asking me questions, anything you want answered, and I will do my best and I will keep answering them. So on that note, remember, guys, you are all only one perfect property deal away from everything that you want. Hey, podcasters, thanks for listening. Please go ahead and share the podcast with your friends. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe so I can instantly deliver my best business tactics and entrepreneurial content to you the second it's released. Does that sound like a good deal?